I'm very grateful to be in Addis Ababa and then to interact with you. Thank you very much. Well, the Nile Basin Cooperation Agreement is a very important component of how to utilize the resource of the Nile water. And countries in 1999, went into this particular arrangement. And the countries by that time were 10 before the South Sudan to become a republic. Then soon after we got our independence, South Sudan joined this particular grouping. And it is I must say that 4 countries have already ratified the CPA, the CFA, and then the remaining countries are also on the way. South Sudan have received and have presented this Nile Basin Comprehensive Agreement to the Ministry of Water, and has been presented to the Cabinet, and now is awaiting the National Assembly. Well, we also need to, of course, all the agreements are agreements that were made. For example, the one in 1929, 1959, even ourselves, who got our independence recently, in 2011, those agreements that were done, there are ways that they can be, discussed. And this is why the Nile Basin Agreement was drafted, so that all the countries around the region should also be beneficiaries of the resource of water in the Nile. And so this is very important, and of course, countries have their own national interests. And of course, as a group, we also need to live together for us to be able to see how we can benefit from this particular resource together, because water passes through countries. His Excellency the Prime Minister, this legacy, green legacy, has been, popularized in our region. Particularly, it was done in Ethiopia, and most visit that has been done, we have seen it. They are targeting 25 billion seedling. Your embassy in Juba, the embassy of Ethiopia, have approached our Ministry of Environment and Forestry so that they can be able to undertake some of the primaries, seed plantation. This is a very useful, because we are talking about climate protection, protecting the environment, and so it's a very useful exercise. It is a green legacy that is the world now is moving toward that. Desertification, the desert is coming, so we must be seen to be protecting, the degradation of the land. First and foremost, it is a painful one that Sudan had got herself into this kind of situation. Sudan is located geographically in a very scientific and strategic location in Africa. Ethiopia and South Sudan, Egypt, Eritrea, Libya, Chad, Central Africa, all these countries are neighboring countries to Sudan. And so any slight issue that happens in Sudan affect all of us. So it is upon our region to make sure that this particular war is brought to an end quickly. My president, His Excellency President Salva Kiir Mayardit, have attempted from day one, on the 15th of April, to reach out to both chairperson of Sovereign Council, Gerald Burhan, and to leader of RSF, Hemeti, and appeal to them, to de-escalate the conflict from date 15 of April. On the 16th of April, a virtual meeting was called by head of states and government of IGAD to address the situation in Sudan. And a team was put together, led by His Excellency President Salva Kiir Mayardit, and he continued to persuade and to give pressure to both of them in ensuring the ceasefire, cessation of hostility, and the access for humanitarian. And thereafter, people talk about political settlement. It is true that there are so many actors, but we have experience in South Sudan. We have our own situation. We felt that the homegrown solution is the only way that you can solve and you can get a sustainable solution. And this is what President Salva have told the two parties, and they have told all the special envoys that has come to Juba, that the most important way to address this situation is to allow Sudanese themselves and the Sudanese political forces to be able to shut the way for getting the resolution to the current problem. Otherwise, if we invite in others from outside, the proxy, it will complicate the matter. And this is why IGAD and African Union, and of course, friends can always join, through IGAD or through the African Union, for us to be able to get a solution to this crisis that happened in Sudan. Sudan is one of the oldest countries that got independent in 1956, and it has never experienced a kind of war before. So we are doing everything possible as a region, and particularly the IGAD, and we are working together with the African Union for this solution that is acceptable to the Sudanese be found as soon as possible. First and foremost, most of the African countries and the developing countries are not contributors, to the pollutions. But then we become victim, of the climate change. For example, in the East Africa, the drought have affected so many places. But if you go to my country, South Sudan, you got the flood that has submerged, the 6 states out of 10 states. So the livelihood have been affected by this climate change, both in the dry area and in the wet area. Of course, there is no way that you can do this unless we work together and see how we can, improve our region. One of it is this green legacy that we have talked about it, to get back, the environment, to be able to sustain, the population, the ecosystem that can be now an ecosystem that people can live together. Of course, humanitarian are always welcome, humanitarian agencies, to intervene, like what happened in Kenya, in Somalia, and what happened in South Sudan, in the areas of flood. The humanitarian agencies are welcome, and they have done extremely well because they have bridged, where there are no services. And the government is always welcome to them because we are partners, they are complementing. Wherever the government cannot do, they can also reach and help the population. However, it is important for us to move away from this humanitarian syndrome because it creates dependency, and this is what the government of South Sudan is doing. We want to work towards building peace, humanitarian, and development, so that the people can be able to create their own wealth. They can be able to create their own food and surplus, and then get something to the market. This is what we are working on as a country. First and foremost, South Sudan is indebted a lot to the government and the people of Ethiopia. From 1960s, 1970s, when our people were at war, they were given sanctuary here. They were given food. They were given medicine. Our people always remembered, their stay in Ethiopia, and we are very grateful for the people of Ethiopia. Now, with regard to the border, we have very longer border, and nowadays there are many issues that we need to be, very clear about it, particularly the infrastructure. The government of Ethiopia is working on the road, which is very good. Road connect people. Government of South Sudan is also working on the road, so that interconnectivity would really be a good for our people to be together. You can have goods from Addis Ababa, you can drive up to Juba, you can even proceed up to Central Africa. And so there will be a big market. You know, whatever that is not in Ethiopia, you can bring it across. And things that we don't have, you can take them to South Sudan. So we are very keen about the issue of infrastructure, and we are working hard for us to be able to improve our livelihood and improving this. On the issue of trafficking is one of the key issues. And of course, our ministries of interior, the police, they are working together so that this kind of movement is regulated. Of course, we welcome people to come here, but we must be very careful about people who are doing cross-border, the human trafficking and money laundering. All those things must be clean. And again, the Ethiopian community in South Sudan are doing very well. They are very creative. They are very entrepreneurship. They have shops. They have bank. They have different places. They have hotels, and they are doing a good job. And they are abiding citizens by the law, and we are happy with them that they are doing their business and they respect the laws of South Sudan. LabSet is a project that was developed by 3 countries to facilitate, goods and services from the Indian Ocean. And South Sudan, Kenya, and Ethiopia are working together. Even recently, we had a meeting in Juba in April of the LabSet countries. The ministers went from here, ministers came from Kenya, and they discussed on how to operationalize the issue of the LabSet. And we are very, working on that line, for us to be able to realize and to achieve this issue of the LabSet as soon as possible. It is the northern corridor, that can take goods to South Sudan. You can go up to Sudan, you can go up to Central Africa. It's a shared, when you have mobility, you make life of the people very easy. The connectivity will be so easy. South Sudan and the government of Ethiopia are working very closely. And I really want to congratulate the government of Ethiopia and all the universities and the institutions of higher learning. We have very huge student population that are studying here. We have very huge students that are specializing, like doctors, surgical doctors, and other institutions, engineers, they are here. Those who are doing in the police, they are also being given training here. This is a very useful. We are benefiting from the 30 years of stability in Ethiopia. South Sudan have been able to train quite a number of, civil servants, but also population of students. Not only that, we have a very huge population of South Sudanese here in Ethiopia. We have about 330,000 refugees in the western side, and they are being given support by the UNHCR and Administration for Refugee Affairs, and we really want to congratulate the government of Ethiopia. It will definitely enhance what is currently happening. If you have the bank, it will be easy for you to have transaction. If you have a mobile, and I really want to thank one of the Ethiopian national, Ashesham, is a guy who has been working in South Sudan. He has been doing a lot of good job, and he came up with this idea of mobile telecom. He took some of the people who have a lot of energy and knowledge from here. So this will really be, it will help us. Commercial bank, telecom, hotel industry, and hospitality. This group all, they are working, and they're earning money. South Sudan is also getting taxes, but they are also repatriating and getting money back home. This is both way doing well for all of us. We are very thankful to the government of Ethiopia and the TPLF. War, is enemy of development. And when you have war, you cannot progress. So we're so grateful that when the Pretoria Peace Agreement was signed, the ceasefire, they developed it now into a big one. I believe the region of Tigray is very peaceful. People will settle. Ethiopia will go to its own place in Africa. It's the oldest country in Africa, and we look for Ethiopia on all aspects. So this particular peace agreement to us is a great lesson for us to learn, that the African problem can be solved by African solution. This is a very typical example. Our message is to sustain and maintain this particular peace so that this peace can be translated into reality in the ground, so that people who are at the ground and others should also join this particular peace. And we can learn from it. Sudan can learn from what has been done in Ethiopia. South Sudan will learn from it. Other countries like DR Congo can learn from it, that it is not about war, but let us give peace a chance. Well, I have nothing more to say, but really to congratulate the people of Ethiopia. Peace is the most important. And Africa, the heart of Africa and the headquarters of the AU is here. So we want Ethiopia always to remain, number one in all issues related to peace and other issues, so that he can help us, like when they helped Sudan in 2019. So I have nothing much to say, but really to congratulate the Prime Minister, the government of Ethiopia, and the people of Ethiopia for the effort that they are doing, to bring development. Addis Ababa now have changed, and I believe other towns have changed. And so everything have really changed in Ethiopia, and we want to see this particular change can move forward.